Before we continue, we'd love for you to subscribe to the Dip Dive podcast channel. Your support helps us grow and create even better content just for you. Thanks for being part of our journey.
All right, get ready to dive in because today we are talking all about those awkward, messy, sometimes hilarious first jobs.
First jobs. I think everyone has at least one story they can share.
Yes, definitely. I know I do. So for this deep dive, we're going to be taking inspiration from the podcast Dip Dive. They have a whole episode on real-life first job disasters, and it's pure gold. We're talking spilled milkshakes, runaway goldfish, you name it. I mean, those first jobs, they're kind of a universal experience, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's been there. It's like a rite of passage, usually involving some degree of chaos.
Yeah, and looking back, they make for some pretty hilarious stories.
What's interesting about first jobs is they often push you way outside your comfort zone.
Totally. You're thrown into the deep end, figuring things out as you go. You learn a lot about resilience, problem solving, and maybe even a little bit about yourself along the way.
Speaking of throwing in the deep end, Dip Dive actually featured one of your own first job horror stories, didn't they?
Oh, they did. They dug up a story from my days working at this fast food joint. I was completely green, super nervous, and I managed to spill a milkshake all over a customer.
Oh no, that's rough, especially in a fast-paced environment like that.
And it wasn't just any customer. It was a regular.
Oh, even worse. Talk about making a lasting impression. So what happened? Did you get fired on the spot?
Well, let's just say I got very familiar with the cleaning supplies. But the manager, to his credit, he was pretty chill about it. Just kind of sighed and said, at least it wasn't hot coffee.
That's actually a great point. He recognized that mistakes happen, especially in first jobs. It's how you handle them that matters. So you learned a little about customer service and quick thinking that day. I bet you were extra careful with milkshakes after that.
Oh, absolutely. Double-checked every order.
Yeah.
So what about you? Did you ever have a moment in your first job where you completely messed up?
I mean, who hasn't? But that's part of what makes these stories so relatable, right?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Totally. And Dip Dive had some listener stories that were just pure gold. Like you wouldn't believe the situations these people got themselves into.
Okay, you've got to tell me more. What kind of first job chaos did these listeners experience?
Okay, picture this. Gina is working at a grocery store. Pretty standard first job, right?
Yeah, I can see it. Lots of learning experiences to be had there.
So she accidentally scans a customer's bananas twice. You know, we've all been there. Easy mistake.
Happens to the best of us, but what did she do?
Well, in a moment of pure panic, she blurts out, it's buy one, get one dot invisible.
Buy one, get one invisible. I'm already laughing. That's amazing. I wonder what the customer thought.
Oh, the customer loved it. They started laughing so hard they actually dropped their eggs. And Gina, being the awesome person she is, ended up paying for them, turning a mistake into a positive experience.
You know, that's a great example of thinking on your feet and using humor to diffuse a potentially awkward situation.
Right. It probably turned that customer into a loyal one, too.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes those unexpected moments can build the best connections.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's Gina and her invisible bananas.
All right, get ready for this one because it's a classic. We have Raj, who was working at a pet store.
Pet store. Okay. Lots of potential for chaos there. So what did Raj get up to?
His task was to clean the fish tanks. Pretty straightforward, you'd think.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Well, somehow he manages to drop a fish into the dog grooming tub.
You're kidding. A fish in the dog bath. That's incredible.
It's like something out of a cartoon.
Yeah.
I can just picture this poor goldfish swimming through soapy water trying to avoid the dog shampoo.
It definitely highlights how in first jobs, you can never fully anticipate the challenges you're going to face.
You got to be ready for anything. You're constantly learning, adjusting, and problem solving on the fly.
Absolutely. It's like a real-life crash course in resilience. You learn to think on your feet and adapt to unexpected situations.
Okay, so we've talked about some pretty epic mishaps. But what about the people? The coworkers who make these first job experiences even more memorable.
Oh, the characters you meet. Sometimes they can be the most unforgettable part of the whole experience.
Dip Dive has some stories about those too, and trust me, you're going to love these. Okay, first up, we have Jeff, who had to deal with, well, an interesting coworker. This coworker was obsessed with nicknames.
Oh, no. Everyone had a nickname.
Yeah, everyone. And for poor Jeff, his coworker decided to call him, wait for it, Pickle.
Pickle. Seriously, was there at least like a funny story behind it?
Nope, none whatsoever, just completely random. Jeff said it was like his coworker pulled it out of thin air.
I guess in a way it's kind of funny.
Oh.
But I can imagine how annoying that would get after a while.
Oh, yeah, especially when you have to answer that name for months on end. And it's not even like a cool nickname or anything.
Totally. It definitely shows you how strange the social dynamics can be in those first jobs.
You're just trying to figure everything out, then you get thrown a curveball like Pickle.
Hmm.
Makes you wonder what goes on in people's heads sometimes.
Okay, I'm ready for the next coworker story. What do you have?
Okay, this one is just pure comedic gold. We have Mia, who worked at a clothing store with a supervisor who loved motivational speeches.
Motivational speeches. Okay. I feel like that could go either way.
Yeah, it could be inspiring, or it could be, well, let's just say he wasn't exactly getting the quotes right.
Oh no, what kind of motivational mishaps are we talking about here?
Apparently one of his favorites was, teamwork makes the tree work.
Teamwork makes the tree work. That's amazing. It's like so wrong, it's almost right. I bet everyone in the store was trying not to laugh.
Oh, I'm sure. But you got to admire the enthusiasm, right? I mean, at least he was trying to boost morale.
True, true. It's those little quirks that make those early jobs so memorable.
Definitely. And sometimes those unique leadership styles can teach you a lot about how to handle different personalities.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so we've had some laughs about mishaps and coworkers, but Dip Dive also had some stories about those unforgettable first job mistakes, right?
Oh, yeah, the ones that make you cringe years later, but also teach you some pretty valuable lessons, like the ones you never forget.
Oh, absolutely. Those mistakes are almost a rite of passage. Everyone has at least one they can look back on and laugh about.
Exactly.
Mm.
Like Josh, who was working as a barista, and, well, he accidentally mixed up a decaf order with a triple shot espresso.
Oh, no way. Triple shot instead of decaf. That's got to be a rough way to start your morning.
Oh, the guy was practically vibrating. I mean, can you imagine? You're expecting a nice, calm decaf, and you get hit with a triple shot.
I bet his heart was racing. But hey, maybe it helped him get through the rest of the day.
Luckily, the customer was pretty cool about it once he, calmed down a bit.
That's good. I'm sure Josh learned a pretty valuable lesson about attention to detail that day, especially when you're dealing with caffeine.
For sure. Okay, get ready for this next one because it's a classic case of reply all gone wrong.
Oh no, the dreaded reply all. We've all been there, or at least had a near miss.
This is Sarah, and she accidentally copied the entire company on a personal email complaining about how boring her job was.
Oh my gosh, I can feel the secondhand embarrassment from here. I bet she wanted to disappear into thin air.
Seriously. That's got to be one of the most awkward situations ever. Can you imagine the silence in the office after everyone read that email?
It definitely makes you realize the importance of double-checking those emails, especially when you're new to the working world.
Right? One little click and your whole career could flash before your eyes. I mean, what would you do if you found yourself in that situation?
Oh, I don't even know. Maybe just own up to it and apologize to my supervisor directly.
Yeah, that's probably the best approach. Damage control. But hey, it makes for a pretty good story later on, right?
Totally. And it's a good reminder that everyone makes mistakes, especially in those first jobs. It's all part of the learning process.
You know what I think is interesting about these stories?
What's that?
As cringy as they can be sometimes, I think those stories also really show how resilient we are, especially in those first jobs.
Yeah, I think so too. We make mistakes, we learn from them, and somehow we end up with some pretty hilarious stories to tell later on.
Totally. It's like they become part of our story.
Yeah.
A badge of honor almost.
It's a great way to put it. A shared experience that connects us to others who've been through that same awkward initiation into the working world.
I've noticed people love to swap these kinds of stories, like it's a universal bonding experience.
It is. There's definitely a camaraderie in knowing that we've all been there, messed up, and somehow made it out the other side.
Guess in a way, it's kind of like a secret society of first job survivors.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up this deep dive into first job disasters, I think we can all agree that they're a universal experience, full of awkwardness, mishaps, and those unforgettable characters that you just can't make up.
Right. And as cringeworthy as those moments might feel at the time, they really do shape how we see work, teach us some really important lessons, and give us a ton of funny stories to share, at parties or wherever.
Totally. So next time you're thinking about burying those memories deep down, remember that they're part of what makes your story unique.
Exactly. Embrace those awkward moments, those lessons learned, and never stop sharing those stories.
You never know. Your story could be the one that helps someone else get through their own first job struggles.
That's a good point. It could inspire them to face those challenges with a bit more humor and maybe a little less fear.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So on that note, we want to hear from you. Tell us about your first job experiences, the good, the bad, and the hilariously awkward. Because we're all in this together, right? And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep laughing at those first job misadventures.